This is Russ. Yeah, I'm headed out of Costco. What time is it? 11:51 a.m. According to my car thermometer, it says 31 degrees. You know, I never trust that thing. Not until I've been driving for a little bit, because the wind chill will drop that temperature down, I'm sure. Yeah, see, it already says 30. Hey, when I left the house to get to Costco, it was 19 degrees. I think it just heats up. Some guy's vaping. I could see the smoke coming out of his window. Either that or it's just too cold. He's vaping. Vaping is not good for you guys. Don't do it. Anyway, got some news for you guys. So yesterday, I had the opportunity to talk to some police officers yesterday. 3 of them. So we got to talking about e-bikes. And I said, hey, would you guys ticket me if you saw me passing through stop signs? Now, I qualified that. I said, okay, what I usually do is I'll look around. I'll look. If there's no cars, there's no pedestrians there, I will slow down, but I'll probably keep going. What would you do? They said, well, now that we know you, because we're talking about law enforcement stuff, because I told them that I was former law enforcement as well. He says, we wouldn't ticket you. Yeah, see? But he says, but I can't guarantee what the other guys would do. That's the exact same answer I got from the other guy like a year or two ago. Yeah, he says, I can't speak for the other officers, but the 3 of us, we would say no. I said, yeah, well, you know, I do typically pass through most of the stop signs. I says, I will slow down, you know, and if there's something there, I will stop. But I told them, I said, I typically don't stop because I have a tendency to fall easier if I'm stopped. And they agreed. Yeah, they agreed. They said, yeah, you would. So they said, here's the thing. He says, you know, we're really not that interested in policing that particular activity. He said, we just want to make sure people are safe. But he says, typically we're not there to just give tickets out to everybody that, you know. He says, if you look like you're riding safely, no, we wouldn't do it. But they did qualify it this way. But now that we know you and we know you're former law enforcement, we wouldn't do it. But the other cops don't know that. See, that's the thing. Well, there's a little bit of, what do they call that? Professional courtesy. I mean, even though I'm not currently in law enforcement and haven't been in years, we still kind of look out for each other. Yeah. I think law enforcement guys always look out for each other. And that's probably true for other professions too, you know. You would look out for the other guy. And they asked me if I still had credentials with me. I says, no. I says, that's so long ago. I says, they don't give you anything that you can take with you once you leave. And he says, oh, yeah. I says, but I said, you just have to take my word for it. But the thing is I could talk to them just like any other law enforcement person can, because I understand what they're up to, you know. So they could tell. They could tell. Yeah. So anyways, you know, they knew that I was a YouTuber. I said, yeah, you can see me on the YouTube videos passing through those stop signs. He goes, yeah, we got to review all that and then write you a ticket. I go, I'd be getting thousands of tickets. I would be getting thousands of tickets if you did that. No, they're really not that concerned with a small infraction like that if they see that you're trying to be safe. That's basically what they're saying. And I tend to agree. I really wish that Illinois would have passed that stop sign as a yield sign, you know, when there's cars and pedestrians, because that's exactly what I do. But I think now I tend to slow down more than I did in the past. In the past, if I looked and I didn't see, I just kept moving. I didn't even barely slow down, just a little bit. Now I tend to slow down more. So I would think I bring it down to maybe around 10 miles an hour range, give or take. You know, if I'm doing like 23, I might bring it down to 10. Well, technically too, we're not supposed to go past 20, but you know, they're not going to sit there with a radar gun on you, right? Because he said, you know, we're really not, that's not what we really do. I mean, he says, we're there just to make sure the public is safe. Yeah, it's true. I mean, if you're riding like a maniac, yeah, they may radar gun you or they may pull you over, but they're not really there otherwise. Yeah, I did ask them about the forest preserves in our area. He says, well, that's really not our jurisdiction, which I knew. It's a forest preserve, guys. But I says, but what do you feel about that? I says, it does say no motorized vehicles. And he goes, yeah, well, that's, you know, we kind of all knew that meant gas-motored vehicles like go-karts and what else did they have? Gas-powered dirt bikes, that kind of stuff. Yeah, they don't want that on there. Those things are noisy, by the way. I saw some guy try to do that. Yeah, I actually have it on video. You can hear it in the background of my video. That's what they're talking about. You know, but an e-bike, no. I mentioned to them about, and they told me another area that he knew for a fact you can ride in that forest preserve, you know, at a slower speed. So I mentioned Bussy Woods, where I had gone quite a bit, and I said, those guys were kicking people out. And I said, some of my viewers told me that they told them to get off the trail. I said, but their own forest preserve website says you can go on the trail. He goes, yeah, these guys don't always know all their own rules. Yep, see, that's the thing. So here's the thing, do you want to fight that or just stay off the trail? I told them, you know, I'm mostly on the street anyway. I says, you guys have probably seen me riding around anyway. But he says, but no, I'm usually pretty safe, and I try my best to promote that on my YouTube videos. They'll go ahead and watch Russ is Right. Hello to you guys if you're seeing this, okay? But no, the thing is that no, they have better things to do. I mean, many people have said that before in the past. You know, cops aren't there really to deal with this whole thing with the bikes. They just want to be making sure people aren't doing crazy things. And in our area too, and many of the areas in our area, many of the other cities, or you could call them villages in our area, they've adopted the same thing. 16 years old older can ride, so they're looking out to make sure the little kids aren't riding e-bikes. That they will stop you, or if they're not wearing helmets. I think ours has a helmet law too now. Not all villages have this. I've checked some of the other village ordinances, and I don't think they have it. But many of them have adopted the age restriction, and I am actually for that, because unless they've taken like driver's ed or something, what do they know about the rules of the road? And they're putting kids out on streets because we cannot ride on the sidewalks. Yeah, many of the cities have said you cannot ride an e-bike on the sidewalk or a scooter. So if you put kids out on the street and they've never even had rules of the road or driver's ed, they don't know what's going on. You're setting them up for potential problems if you let them let them ride. So I'm in favor of that. That you should have at least the rules of the roads, you know, knowledge. So yeah, so that's the story, you know. I knew that they would probably say that if I told them my background. I knew that would probably be the case, but not every cop knows that, and people pulled this thing again about, hey, I'm former law enforcement, and then expect to get off of a ticket, right? But they says that we're not really looking to ticket people for this. I mean, this is minor compared to the other stuff they have to deal with, really. So just thought I'd share that with you guys. Yeah, I had a chance to talk to 3 of those guys in my local area. But like I said, and I told them too, I says, you know, if you see me on the street, you always see me waving at you guys. And they said, yeah. I said, because I said, you know, I've told my viewers that you should get to know your local police officers, because they always patrol the same general area. And if you're riding the same area and you run into them all the time, get to know them. Yeah. Believe me, in the long run, it pays off for you. They don't want to issue tickets to everybody. People think they do, but no, they don't. They got other better things to do. So anyways, that's the story. Hopefully you had a kick out of hearing that. So will I be breaking all the stop sign rules? Not always, you know, but I am always usually careful. They know that, I know that. I know they know that. All right, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Don't break the rules, okay? Try your best. If you can stop, stop. Yeah, I'm not telling people they shouldn't stop. But for me, it's difficult for me. I told them I'd have to hop off my bike. They go, yeah. I can't teeter-totter on this thing for several seconds and then start again. And getting on and off this thing is just a pain. And they said, yeah, that's true. So they understand. Yeah, they're people too. All right, hit the like and subscribe button. Talk to you guys next time.